All right, guys, welcome to your Freedom Wake Up Call, broadcasting from the Freedom Firearms and Defense Studio. I'm your host, Chip Darby. Listen, there's a lot going on, but we are in early voting stages. We're right up against the deadline for the primaries. And as much as we need to cover the primaries, producer Bruce has insisted that I remind you guys of a hunger concert that is coming to Beaumont as well. It's going to be the Hunger with a Depeche Mode tribute band. And she also wants you guys to know about the TNT Gun Show. There's a lot going on in Southeast Texas. It doesn't always get highlighted, but there's always something going on. And thank you to all of you who came out to the Otaku Food Festival. Now, what we're going to do today is a little bit different. I like to do interviews, and I like to give the candidates a shot. Come up here, multiple candidates, one shot, and we're good. We've got an issue with Ernest Bales. He will not show up. Actually, we've got multiple issues. That's just one of them. Unfortunately, I went to a debate, and I'm saying unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's what Ernest Bales did at the debate that sickened me. And Steve Missick, who is running against Bales, he's running for HD 18, right?
That's correct.
So you decided to join us again. Bales sat there and called you a liar for not lying. Bales lied on the thing. I've got the audio. I didn't get the bites clipped quick enough to get them on air. But he's done some hideous things. He's claiming that the governor is responsible for Colony Ridge and that he's not. First thing I want to address, we'll come to Colony Ridge in a minute, is when I probably need to get the audio uploaded just so people will have it. But when he came to that debate, it was you, Janice, and Bales, and to my knowledge, that was the only debate that he's ever shown up for, with all three of you.
Well, we had a debate in East Montgomery County where the three of us were there. But a lot of times either Janice wouldn't show up or he wouldn't show up. So I believe there's two debates. Well, we had an event in Saratoga. Just so your audience knows, if you go to my YouTube channel, which is Apostolic Production, or you put in Dr. Missick versus Holt versus Bales, the debates will come up. They're all online. I haven't edited them, so you can just watch it for yourself and make your own decision. Hearing all the candidates. So the ones where it's just Bales is up, the ones with just Holt, but the one where all of us are there, they're all up. So
beautiful. That's great. And that's, I think, is where I found the debate. I was there personally. We didn't record it. We had someone we knew recording it, and then your audio was just a little bit better. And what sickened me is when it came to school vouchers, school choices.
Right.
He made a valid point, a point that I bring up a lot to state reps, and that's there could be strings attached with the vouchers. So you got, and most candidates say, well, you've got to use caution, you've got to make adjustments, you've got to write it in the bill so that there are limited government involvement. And that's cool. He said no. And I said, okay, you don't want strings attached? That's a fair point if you're saying no. Then he turns around and talks about how some parents are homeschoolers and they're good and responsible. But I just searched a lake for a dead 11-year-old girl. I mean, this guy's playing this and trying to play on the heart. Some parents are evil parents. What the freak does that have to do with school vouchers? Nothing. I mean, he's using this. I mean, just a standard liberal tactic. Using a dead child to promote himself. That's as sick as using God to promote yourself. I cannot stand people who do that. But I wanted to bring that out because you were there. I was there. The audio is out there. This is a sick sucker and a very deceitful and lying guy.
Right.
One of the big things that he lies about, and we'll come back and I'm going to ask you to comment on a bunch of things, but one of the big things he's lying on is Colony Ridge, and you've got some good, solid proof of that.
Right. Well, I want to say really quickly that this debate was hosted by Candlestick Baptist Church in Lumberton with Pastor Donnie. So I want to put some words out that, appreciate him having us giving us this opportunity. But there is an audio also out there where Ernest Bales is talking to Dr. Wolf, who's a chiropractor in Cleveland. And he admits, and your audience can look this video up, it's Bales' audio confession. He admits that he knows Trey Harris personally. He calls him by his first name, and he co-wrote, Trey Harris co-wrote HB 4341. So why did Ernest Bales call me a liar? So let me go back and let your audience know what was happening. So Colony Ridge, they say it started around 2013, but around 2015 it started attracting attention. So I go to I'm a pastor. I pastor King of Saints in Cleveland, Texas. And my father, who passed away a couple years ago, he was very active in the Ministerial Alliance. And he's like, oh, let's go to I was basically his associate pastor. So he wants to participate in the Ministerial Alliance. So we're talking to the community, and the pastors are very concerned because it's Plum Grove Road, where I used to live, just 5 to 10 miles from Cleveland. And it's like there's stories of the shanty towns going up, illegal aliens being settled outside of Plum Grove. Shanties, just shacks, sometimes just people living, hanging a clothesline, living behind bed sheets. That's their home. Just squalor, absolute squalor in a shanty town going up. You drive through there to look around, see what's going on, and be appalled. All of a sudden, these trucks would drive up with, obvious cartel members threatening people with guns. You'd see drug trafficking, you see sex trafficking. So people are very upset about that. So anyway, what happened was Ernest Bales finally came to the Ministerial Alliance meeting, and he says, I know you've heard about what's going on in Colony Ridge. Actually, we'll call it Plum Grove at that time, before it's commonly known as Colony Ridge. I know you're concerned about what's going on in Plum Grove, but I want to tell you that it's not going away. You're just going to have to accept it. I have made it legal, and we're just going to have to accept it. It's
And about what year was that?
That had to be 2017, maybe 2018. I could probably find the exact date, but what happened is I went on the border mission in 2018. So I was pretty much out of the picture. It's difficult for me to go when I'm on full-time active duty. So he became state legislature in 2017. So this is probably early 2018. So I was shocked, actually, because what people complaining about, you think that a responsible person would bring law and order and clean that mess up. But he comes and addresses us and says, no, it's not going away. It's here to stay, and you're just going to have to deal with it. So I was there. That's what he said. And I didn't know what he was talking about. It's like, I knew for a fact that he made it legal. How do you make it legal? And it's like, well, if I win, we have to find out. But Ken Paxton found out it was HB 4341. And I guess we can talk about that after the break.
We'll talk about that. Listen, guys, we're up against a break here in just a minute or two. We want to talk about HB, it's 4341, 4314.
Yes.
Okay, 4341. We're going to talk about HB 4341. We're also going to talk about some of that confession video, and I have not listened to it all. And that is a failure on my part because, Mr. Missick, you provided that to me.
Yes.
About a week ago, and I have failed to listen to it. And so that's a failure on my part. But guys, we're going to get to some of that content, and we will have audio somewhere on the website this week. You're listening to your Freedom Wake Up Call. We'll be back in just a minute. All right, guys, welcome back to your Freedom Wake Up Call, broadcasting from Freedom Firearms and Defense. Bruce, I think production is going to keep playing. I think producer Bruce is going to keep playing 80s and 90s dance music, club music until the Hunger concert, and I think she might have tickets already. Didn't even invite me.
What is that
that's
Hunger
our
concert?
Oh, the Hunger is a group. They used to do a lot of local events. They had a couple of major hits, but they were primarily dance hits.
When are they performing here?
Saturday, 2 days, Fridays. I don't know. Bruce is trying to give me hand signals, and neither one of us is working too good. They're coming soon, and it's one of the bands that it was a go-to band in the '90s. If there was clubs out there, you'd go and you'd listen. I don't know where they're from, but they used to come to Beaumont and Louisiana frequently. Some of the old Phase 2 and Stars days, which you're not from this area, and you would probably be a little bit too young to remember. Anyway, that's our geezer music, but they're going to be here Saturday. So anyway, so we're gonna put up with that music into there, and I don't mind putting up with the music. What I do mind putting up with is this Colony Ridge stuff. You sent me audio, and unfortunately, I didn't listen to all of it. I will go back, but some of it's just horrific what they're doing out there. Bill says he has nothing to do with it. I would like to go just with my limited knowledge, what I know about Colony Ridge. It was that House Bill 4341 removed local oversight. Prior to that bill, this is a list of oversight that the surrounding communities had. The Plum Ridge municipality could have appointed board members. They would have had to have municipal consent for MMD bond issuances. Colony Ridge couldn't issue any bonds. Colony Ridge could not do any construction on right-of-ways without permission. The municipal consent would have been required for them to expand. They couldn't have expanded without first consulting Plum Ridge, and the municipality always had the ability to dissolve the MMD. But what ended up happening is they removed all of that. Ernest Bales wrote 4341, removing all accountability.
Right.
Now, for starters, he's a Republican. Republicans believe in accountability, but not this dude. I'm going to let you just take it away for a minute, but I'm going to come to selling illegals and what he does there eventually.
Right. So it's outside of Plum Grove community, right, on Plum Grove Road, and this is called Colony Ridge Terrenos, Houston. But he's the Texas state legislature. He represents this district, and this is not in the interest of our community at all. It's, in fact, according to DOJ, it's not in the interest of the people who are living there. It's a flood zone. It's built in a substandard way is really bad. But what Ernest Bales did is he gave special carve-outs. This is not by happenstance or by accident. This is by design. And I have no doubt in my mind that this growing this way because Ernest Bales wants it to grow this way. And think about what he did. He introduced HB 431 surreptitiously, secretly. So what he did is you have local and uncontested legislation. That's like, I don't know, putting street lamps up, naming a fire station, putting up signs. Just is for whatever reason, a small community needs to have, legislation to do these things. Build a fire department, buy some squad, whatever it is. So it's not controversial. He snuck. Why did he do that? Why did he sneak Colony Ridge in local and uncontested affairs? Because he didn't want his constituents to know what he's doing. Because it's harmful to us, to Liberty and San Jacinto County and this entire House district. So he did it secretly, and it wasn't brought up to the floor for debate or discussion or any of that. And you're talking about this. You're supposed to have local oversight, but the way it's written and the way it's been carried out is basically you have the fiefdom or the kingdom of John and Trey Harris, where they do whatever they want with impunity. I know someone who's been intimately following this situation. And he's been informing me of these things. And of course, another thing Ernest Bales said, well, last time you run, you didn't say a thing about Colony Ridge. That's not true. In fact, I heard the stories. I go down Plum Grove, but when I was campaigning, I actually went in there to see what the community looks like for myself. And I've been there again twice recently. And there is an area, it's like a Potemkin village, where, a nice little area. But most of it is a shanty town, and you go through there. I've done missionary work in third world countries, and Colony Ridge, Terrenos, Houston is like third world, and there's a lot of suspicious. It's dirty. And the other thing that's going on, Ernest Bales is lying about these things. He sends these flyers out to the ranchers. Oh, we keep our rivers and creeks clean. They're dumping tens of thousands of gallons of raw human sewage. And why is that? Because it doesn't have an infrastructure. Each little lot, I guess you do your own sewage. And so it's just pumped out into it's going to Lake Houston. It's going to all the streams, lakes, and rivers, and it's going into Texans' drinking water.
So this is, no accountability. I think about that, and it's ridiculous. I am 100% liberty-minded. I believe a person should be able to do what they want on their own land, what they want with their own bodies, provided, and here's the provision, it doesn't infringe on someone else's liberty. But when you're poisoning somebody else's drinking water, when you're dumping your poop in drinking water, that's an issue.
Right.
That's threatening someone's livelihood. The bacteria that could be formed.
Right. This is the most absurd thing. He acknowledged that that's happening. Oh, that's just campers going out dumping their tens of thousands of gallons of campers going out there, and it happens to be at Colony Ridge. And then the other thing is he's invested in it. They've given him donations. Okay, until September 15th, the Daily Wire carried a story on Colony Ridge. Before that, there's hardly anybody talking about it. People are desperate. People who are being victimized by Trey Harris and Colony Ridge, they're crying out for help, and no one was listening to us.
Let's talk about the victimization that's going on, because that's important. On this video that you've got, and it's up on, give me the website one more time.
Apostolic Productions. It's on YouTube. So you go to, just put Ernest Bales Audio Confession on YouTube, and it should come up. but it's on my YouTube channel, Dr. Mystic's YouTube channel.
So he's talking about the things that he can do to illegal immigrants to profit that they cannot do to citizens.
Right.
Amongst of them, he said, well, the federal government would have to be involved in any banking transactions, but I could tote the note for illegals without having. This is what this Bales is saying. He could tote the note without illegals having any recourse.
This is a discussion between Ernest Bales and Dr. Wolf. And what's going on is 1/3 of these people, most of them, not all of them are illegal aliens. There's the Sanchez sisters who've been, fighting back because they're defrauded by the Harris brothers. But what happens right now is 1/3 of the people who buy these lots are evicted. And Dr. Wolf is describing it to Ernest Bales. What happens is if they don't pay up, they lock them out of the house, they go in there and they steal all their valuable possessions. And then they bulldoze it and they sell it to the next person, the next illegal alien. So
And this, to hear him talk about this just as openly as anything, and watch him on stage lie about it, it's mind-boggling. But I think he's scared.
Yeah, well, he's scared of Trey Harris. He admits that he's afraid Trey Harris is going to physically assault him if he doesn't do what he wants. He says that in the course of the discussion. So that's important. The other thing that he says, which is also important, is he admits in this discussion that Trey Harris co-wrote HB 4341. That Trey Harris came to Austin. He says, here's the legislation. I want you to, this is what I want you to do. Ernest Bales claims that he rewrote it a little bit and put restrictions on it. What restrictions? What enforcements?
These are the restrictions. Ernest Bales gets some lobbyist money. I think
that's what happened. He took money from the Harris brothers, and like I said, his family is in there building these substandard roads, which are collapsing already. And talking about, it's not just the feces, it's the flood zone. And
when the waters flood, then when they recede, they carry all that trash, junk, and
they're flooding. People lived in Plum Grove for their whole life. All of a sudden, once Colony Ridge went up, they're flooded every year.
Well, listen, we're right up against a break, but I want you to understand this. Steve Missick is running against Ernest Bales, and so is Janice Holt. And I welcome any of these candidates on air. This is not a campaign discussion today, and I will give equal time to any of the candidates. But I want them to understand this is an important issue in this election. Whether you win, whether Janice wins, this is an important election or issue in this election. This is going to it's affecting your community, and we're right on the border of Hardin County, right on the border, right there. Southeast Texas is threatened by this, and without some kind of repeal of 4341, we're going to be in some serious trouble. So guys, this is an important election, and this is an important show. Thank you for joining, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Drugs, crime, foreclosures. The Colony Ridge development is a huge problem. Even Representative Ernest Bales agrees.
Colony Ridge is a huge problem.
What Bales isn't telling you? He wrote the bill creating Colony Ridge and took thousands of dollars from its lobbyist. Now there's a federal investigation. For Texas, the bigger problem is Bales. It's time to bail on Bales. Early vote starting February 20th. Election day is March 5th.
All right, guys, you're listening to your Freedom Wake Up Call. I am your host, Chip Darby. We want to say thank you to Classic Southeast Texas for sponsoring the station and our soon-coming grand opening, whatever you want to call it. They're a great place. We use them for service of our vehicles. Great people. Anyway, we're covering something important today, something really important, and this is Colony Ridge. We have Stephen Missick running with us. He's running for HD 18, just like Janice Bales and Janice
Holt and Ernest Bales.
Oh wow, she's gonna castrate me over that one probably. Janice Holt and Ernest Bales. The importance of this is because of how bad Colony Ridge is, and we keep seeing these flyers where Bales is attacking and attacking and attacking and lying and lying and lying. One of the things we talked about in the first segment was that debate that was hosted at Candlestick Baptist Church here in Lumberton. And in that debate, they were talking about homeschool and school choice and how the majority, like 80, almost 90% of his district supported school choice and he yet opposed it. And he made one semi-valid point, which was there might be government strings attached. Then he went on to talk about a missing girl who was found murdered and tried to use that to play to sympathy in favor of public school systems. But there's a little something more sinister in this whole support of public school systems, and especially with regards to like the superintendent of Plum Grove. Plum Grove? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, now that murder took place probably just 20 minutes north of Shepherd. It was really tacky for him to bring that up. It didn't really have anything to do with anything. What he seemed to be, he's against homeschooling. He supports the radical left-wing teachers unions and associations. He supports what they're trying to do. And so one of the things that's going on is the people of Plum Grove, Splendora, and Cleveland are victims of Colony Ridge. It's hurting the community in a lot of ways. And we don't have the infrastructure to deal with that. Like I said, it's causing floodings. And we have an exponential growth of the schools, and there's not enough facilities to take care of it. And one of an example of corruption is I guess they got one of the school bonds. They can't. If you listen to this discussion, Dr. Wolf says we're all bonded out. It's not even for our kids. It's for people who don't have the right to be here, and we have to pay for this, and we can't afford it. But what did they do? They got one bond, and they built the executive suites for the school superintendents. Right?
Wow.
This huge, nice executive suite. That's their priorities. The kids are living in or learning in FEMA trailers, and they're going down. Dr. Wolf talks about this, and I've been to those schools. I've seen how bad it is because we had pastors going in and praying for the community, and it's so crowded. You have to take turns breathing. There's only one way. Sometimes for a student to go to the class next door, he has to go all around the building because you can't. There's no two-way traffic.
So
But
how does this benefit them? I mean, they got a bond to build the nice executive
Right.
trailers, but how
So-
would the superintendents or other people build?
Right, the superintendent he also came to the Minister Alliance meetings, and he goes, this is actually a good thing. It's better to have growth than be in decline. And Ernest Bales, I ran against him last time, and we had this Raise Your Hand Texas thing where it's the teachers union. I did it again recently. And Ernest Bales was I am the state rep of the largest growing school district in the nation. He's using that as a selling point for these. Look what I'm doing for you. I've created the largest growing school district in the entire country. And why? He didn't say why that was so. That's because of Colony Ridge, and he knows that. He knows that.
The way the school systems work is the schools get paid per student,
Right, it's
per
money.
attendance.
Right.
So-
They're getting people getting money off of Colony Ridge in the community. Of course,
Now, do they pay for illegals as well?
Of course. That's
So-
there's a bad Supreme Court ruling that says it doesn't matter what your immigration status is, we're obligated to provide the education for these kids. Right? Right or wrong, that's the ruling of the Supreme Court. So we have to pay for it. And we're looking at economically distressed community. It's too much for us to deal with this. And but what happens is there's these greedy people and that want to make money by building new schools. They want those bonds. They're going to get their cut. That's the construction company is going to make bids. In a rural community like Cleveland, Texas, that's a money-making operation. Let's grow the population and build schools so we can get some money that way.
And see, there's so much to do here. But what I want to go back to, I'm just going to backtrack just a minute. Ernest Bales does not want to allow private school students or homeschool students school vouchers.
Right.
Citizens
Right.
who are educating their children must pay property tax because he opposes elimination of property tax.
Right.
He supports, quote, property tax relief. Mm-hmm. He does not want the citizens to be able to afford to send their kids to other opportunities. He doesn't want them to have other opportunities, but he wants illegal immigrants to be paid for, their education to be paid for. In other words, he's choosing illegal immigrants over his representatives' children's.
Okay, I also want to mention, remember in 2018, there's a teachers union rally in Houston, and it's a Flip Texas Blue rally. I talked about this in the last thing. But he went to a Flip Texas Blue rally wearing a purple shirt because to attend this rally, you're supposed to wear a purple shirt to show your commitment and your solidarity with the teachers unions. They're actually campaigning. We're going to flip Texas blue. Wear your purple shirt so Texas is no longer a red state. So nobody made him go do that. Right? He went to this rally wearing his purple shirt. So maybe that's part of the, maybe he's trying to, he was a Democrat before, now he's a Republican. Maybe he's trying to flip this district blue.
And here's one of the things I want to point out. Everything we're discussing it's out there.
It's
There's
documented.
evidence that's documented.
Right.
There's factual evidence to this. While he stands up and lies good on a commercial or on YouTube,
Right.
probably because he's afraid of the cartel that he's involved with, or
Right.
Trey Harris or what have you.
Right.
But everything is documented.
Right. You can look at the photograph yourself. It's a Texas scorecard. Look it up, and you see the photograph of him at the Flip Texas Blue rally wearing his purple shirt. Everything is documented. And Wayne Dolcefino did a lot of investigation into Colony Ridge and expose on it, and he confronted Ernest Bales about his involvement on it. This was 2 years ago before the story took fire. And you know, one of the things he asked him about is like, there are reports that you've been going on hunting trips with John and Trey Harris. Is that true? And Ernest Bales won't deny it. And we know that he's been taking donations, and we know his family is working in construction in that area. So he's deeply, I mean, and the other thing, he's not doing what he should. He should be representing the interests of his constituents. And what has he done? He's been in office for 8 years while he's been allowing, through indifference or ineptitude or actually compliance with them, he's allowed not only Colony Ridge to grow exponentially, and it's going to dominate. You know, you might be an hour away from it right here, but you're that House district. And the majority population of HD 18, because of Ernest Bales, which I believe is by design. Either it's design or incompetence, but either way, he's responsible. And this House district is going to have a majority population, 250,000. What has Ernest Bales done to pump the brakes on Colony Ridge? Not a darn thing. He can say, well, I'm not responsible for it. He wrote that legislation. He admits in that audio recording that he co-wrote it with John and Trey Harris.
He also talks about the financial benefits of victimizing illegal immigrants. Now, one thing that really strikes me is currently we're in a situation where Bales has been a strong supporter of Phelan, supported the impeachment of Ken Paxton, and this is significant because Ken Paxton was prosecuting voter fraud and keeping our election integrity up. Ernest Bales is opposed to election integrity, and this is what's really, really concerning. Colony Ridge is illegal immigrants, Hispanic. They could be easily persuaded to vote whichever way they want to vote, or the community wants them to vote. And typically the illegals will vote for Democrats, and there was no way to call them on this voter fraud. Thank you, Ernest Bales and a few court activists.
By the way, during this election, you need to vote for there's 3 candidates running. It's the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals.
David Shank, Gina Parker.
Yeah, I met Gina.
David Shank, Gina Parker, and
Slaughter,
Leah Finley.
Michelle Slaughter.
No, Michelle Slaughter is one of the ones who
did it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting it mixed up.
No, yeah.
Vote for the people who are going to replace them to stop. We need to prosecute voter fraud.
We got 2 minutes before our break. Let me go ahead and throw the names out there. Gina Parker, David Shank, and Lee Finley. These 3 will support the rule of law and not follow the Ernest Bales, Dade Phelan, Democrat activism to prevent voter fraud from happening. They want no prosecution. So you got to vote for the ones who will prosecute voter fraud, and we are right up against the break. We'll catch you in just a minute.
Representative Ernest Bales blocked school choice legislation in Texas. This comes after over 87% of Republicans in his district voted in favor of giving parents the power to choose the best educational path for their children. It's time for a change. On March 5th, let's unite for school choice and stand with parents, not against them. Your vote can make a difference. Step up for the future of our children. Empower parents, empower our future.
All right, guys, welcome back to your Freedom Wake Up Call. We only have a few minutes. I want to say a special thanks to Mitchell Mobile Cold Storage. Awesome people. If you have a situation where you have an event coming up, he has mobile trailers, cold storage trailers that go from -5, cover your freezing needs, all the way up to 55 degrees to cover your cooling needs. So whether you have an event coming up or you work in a business and your cooler goes down and you're waiting repairs, contact Mitchell Mobile Cold Storage at mitchellmobilecold.com. Now, we're talking with Steve Messick. Mr. Messick, we're talking to you about Colony Ridge specifically. And Ernest Bale's involvement, he has vehemently denied this over and over and over. His involvement, and said that his writing was to provide more accountability when the evidence shows otherwise. Now, it's been a plague on your community and it's coming to our community. So I'm going to let you continue because we had to take a break a minute ago.
Well, one of the issues you said, which is actually correct, is there's a problem with, well, Glenn Beck said this on his program about Colony Ridge, that it's going to flip this district blue. We don't need that, right? And what's going to happen to our nation of Texas if our state turns blue, as it's trending right now? And one of the reasons it's moving that direction is because of the open border and immigration.
Let's be honest. It's voter fraud. Ken Paxton
Yes.
was prosecuting voter fraud.
Yes.
And all these people came against Ken Paxton. Right. And again, we've got.
We need to prosecute voter fraud because people don't believe it's on the level, right? And if they prosecute people, that deters the crime and that encourages people to believe, hey, if somebody does it, they're going to be prosecuted. We must do that. And then I believe, I think most logical, reasonable people, Joe Biden didn't win this election. We don't have representative government. It was voter fraud that got him in. We shouldn't have, all my life, we know the winner of the election the night of. Now, we don't have election day. We have election days or weeks. We've got to address voter fraud, and God bless Ken Paxton for tackling that issue. We need to support that. And it's outrageous the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals is stopping him from doing that with the help of Ernest Bales and Phelan. And this is a big issue, and we need to take action on that. And of course, you're right. This is going to flip this whole area.
And here's one more thing to keep in mind. Two of the people from our area voted on the impeachment: Senator Nichols and Ernest Bales.
Both of those people passed the HB 4341.
Both of them were involved in Colony Ridge, and that seems kind of suspicious to me because Colony Ridge has a lot of things that are questionable, and should everything go through, it could be, not only are we looking at voter fraud issues, but we're looking at a prosecutable offense that's taken place by these elected officials.
Well, if you listen to this audio recording, Ernest Bales admits, you can hear his own voice, that he met with Trey Harris on multiple occasions, that Trey Harris co-wrote HB 4341. He claims he put some mild restrictions in it. But like I said, either this is by design, and I believe it is, or he's incompetent. He's had 8 years to bring Colony Ridge under control, and it's getting bad to worse, and he's not doing anything. I mean, the DOJ went after John and Trey Harris, and they're still selling lots. They're still doing these shady ITIN loans. They're going on undeterred because I'm telling you, the audience out there, as long as Ernest Bales is in office, he's going to continue to protect and grow Colony Ridge as he has since he took office, as he has since he granted special privileges and protections to Colony Ridge through HB 4341. He can lie about it in his mail-outs. He can lie about it on the radio and on videos, but that's the truth. It's all documented. And he needs to be held accountable to save our community. We need change.
All right, guys, I want you to listen and trust us, but verify. Isn't that what Reagan said? Trust but verify. And you have, tell them once again where they can find all of the videos.
All right, I have my YouTube channel. It's if you want to find it, it's on YouTube. Just search Ernest Bales Audio Confession Enhanced. There's two versions. One, the audio wasn't clear. I went and I refined the audio, so you should be able to hear it clearly. I can hear both fine, but other people hear things differently. So that's where you find it. My YouTube channel is Apostolic Productions. I have me preaching and other types of videos, but all the debates and this audio recording of Ernest Bales spilling the beans and admitting to his involvement in Colony Ridge and his involvement with John and Trey Harris. It's all on there by his own mouth. So he can print up a flyer or a postcard in the mail, but you hear him admitting to it, all of his dirty deeds in this audio recording.
Okay, and so that again was Confessions of Ernest Bales.
Ernest Bales Audio Confession Enhanced.
Okay.
On YouTube, it'll come up.
And what we're going to do, guys, we're going to post that either on the Facebook page or on freedom1300.com. And that way you can have a link to this. You can see the truth. We have a lot of people. We have some. I'm trying to say this. Some liberal influencer in Lumberton. He's a con man. He's been a liberal influencer. He blocks all dissent, and he's been heavily promoting Ernest Bales. And so you really need to understand who these people are. They're dishonest. They're liars. They're your typical Democrats. Only they've flipped for the sake of
Winning
influencing,
elections, right.
well, destroying the Republican Party.
Yeah. What do they call it? Secret sleepers. That's a Democrat was. Well, we have. They admitted it. I think this is South Carolina. It's like we have a nationwide movement where we're running Democrats on the Republican ticket to destroy the Republican Party from within. That's what Ernest Bales is doing. Like we're talking about, like you're talking about school choice. They're actually building a nice school for the illegal aliens, while
Homeschool parents
Right.
and private school parents have to miss work, income, and everything else to provide while they're paying for these. They're paying for these illegals. We're almost out of time. So, guys, this is important stuff. Steve, I really appreciate you coming. Wish you the best of luck in your campaign, but this wasn't a campaign visit. This was exposing the lies of Ernest Bales and Colony Ridge, and that's something you've been following for a long time.
Right. Also, if your audience wants to know about what's been going on there, and like I said, when I campaigned last time, I was looking at these videos by Wayne Dolcefino. There's plenty of information about what's going on in Colony Ridge and Ernest Bales' involvement. He can be disingenuous and lie to his constituents, but we know the truth. He helped Colony Ridge become what it is today, and we need to hold him accountable for that.
All right. Thank you for joining us. This has been your Freedom Wake Up Call. We will talk to you tomorrow.
Let's all join in as we think in the